which is a company. It's a company that's worked with NASA, and it's hoping to build businesses in Huntsville, Alabama, and it's hoping that it can actually offset supply chain issues that are brought up by tariffs by 3D printing parts for manufacturing. So let's get into this with the CEO, David Milan. He joins us right now. So thank you, David, for coming on. I feel like this is going to be a really, really interesting conversation. Maybe there's pros, maybe there's cons. So let's start with how what you do could offset tariffs for some companies. How would that work?
Sure. Thanks, Colin, for having me. So Space Factory builds large 3D printers. So from the scale of a lamp up to building components. So our feeling is that as the cost of imported products goes up because of tariffs, American manufacturers might be open to explore new technologies like 3D printing.
It makes sense, and it probably is a very good idea. I know some have already done it. I guess when I say there's pros and cons, I'm sure some people will say, well, is it a choice then that we get in this country between offshoring our jobs and having manufacturing done in China and automating our jobs and having 3D printers and machines do our jobs?
Yeah, well, I don't think 3D printing will replace US jobs. I think it's about creating new high-tech jobs. And I think we can all agree that making more things in America is a positive. And 3D printing is one of the avenues to do that.
So what types of businesses do you see transitioning? So you're in Huntsville, right? Is that that's what I said, right? Huntsville, Alabama.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so I think we have some numbers on Alabama import-export partners for last year in terms of countries. And what types of businesses? So we're looking at Mexico, certainly. China is part of that number as well. What types of businesses do you see kind of taking advantage? These are the numbers, Mexico and China. What types of businesses that operate, say, in Huntsville, maybe there's an example in your head or a type of business in your head that would take advantage of your technology, would make sense?
Sure. Well, we reached out to Huntsville companies at the beginning of the week, and happy we already sort of got our first pilot project going with a local company that makes robotic lawnmowers, believe it or not. They're called Yard Robotics here in Huntsville.
They make robotic lawnmowers? The company does a lot?
Yeah, which itself is probably a fascinating story, but yes, we'll be partnering together. So,
but what do they do now? Like, how do they work now, or are they just getting started?
Yeah, they've been doing this I think for a couple of years, and they have a swarm of little robots that will mow people's lawns. And
great. Right now, they make their stuff in China?
I would have to check with them on that, but I do know that they make their things in metal, and
right.
Even if they're cutting it here, the raw material, good chances it does come from China. So we're just basically going to be 3D printing their lawnmower parts for them.
That's interesting. So I wonder what that does to their cost structure. Obviously with the tariff, if it's China, I get it, the 100 and some odd % tariffs, but even absent that, you probably are able to save companies like that costs, or would it just be because they're paying extra for the tariffs?
We figured out we could probably do it for 20% of the cost of what they're doing now, and that's pre-tariff.
Because I was going to say that has to be pre-tariff because they wouldn't have been able to. But they would only be calculating estimates going forward. So, all right, so you're already saving them 20%. Okay, that's a good example. Anything else? I mean, what other types of companies would you be working with? Is it some old school companies? And again, go back to that original question, maybe dig a little deeper on it, reassure people that it doesn't take jobs. Because I know that's the thing people are thinking about when they see technology like this. They're, oh, great, not China, but it's going to take my job, this robot, this 3D printer.
Yeah, we see 3D printing more like a force multiplier.
Okay.
And if you think about China and their immense manufacturing capability, it's just a more populous country to start off with than ours. And we need force multipliers like 3D printing to be able to rise to that challenge. And, I think it goes beyond just, protecting U.S. businesses. We should really be taking this as an opportunity to actually do better and deliver high quality products to U.S. consumers and to the world.
You make better products than the humans?
Well, I would say it's the humans who are designing things for 3D printing and operating the machines.
So it gives them more options, right? Is that the point? It gives it, you can be more creative and you can get more done and get it done quickly, I would think.
Absolutely. And, the great thing about 3D printing is this flexibility.
Yeah.
So a company can pivot from product to product quite easily on the same machine.
Yeah.
You don't need to tool it up. Yes, there's going to be a lot more design freedom, a lot more options.
You know, it's
for
great
consumers.
technology. So we started at the beginning that the name, space is in the name, right? So you guys
Yeah.
work with, or used to work with, still work with NASA?
Yeah, we still work with NASA.
do you do?
So the technology we've been developing is to go build on the moon and Mars. So that's where this got started. And but we think it's the right opportunity for us to kind of work a little bit closer to home and try to help companies here on the ground.
Imagine that, you go from that to a robot mowing someone's lawn. So it's not the whole, you got the whole thing
Well,
covered.
you know, Huntsville is the place where they built the rocket that sent the man to the moon.
That's
So
right. I did,
if
yeah.
it's going to happen somewhere, it might as well happen in Huntsville.
Might as well be. Thank you, David, for explaining all that. It's a really interesting kind of side note on all of this as everybody adjusts to what might be a new normal. David Malott, thank you. Space Factory. All right, the closing